You're online. You're live right now.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started with this today. First of all, I'm gonna talk about, what happened on Tuesday morning, if anybody did not know. To tell you a little history of why it started, when we originally was elected to the board, I tried to be as patient with them, with members of the board as possible. I didn't want to be like it used to be, or like last year, or anything like that. So I tried to include board members in certain things. And one of the first things that we knew we were going to be short, because Bingo was not here, and there was miscellaneous income that was not, we didn't know where that money was coming from. So I decided that we talked it over, and we decided that, okay, we need to try to bring people from the outside in and charge them to be here to come up with some stuff. So we decided to put together a social committee. The social committee was supposed to be headed by Val Stratton. Well, first event was going to be the poker run back in June. Well, Val Stratton came to me and said she quit before the poker run started, because she didn't get special favors because she'd been on the board before. Well, as you know, back in May, there was going to be Memorial Day. There was going to be a golf cart parade, and I thought that was a great idea. Maybe unite the community and stuff like that. I was still giving them the benefit of the doubt for that, and we was going to try to reunite everything. So we was trying to put up behind us for last year. Okay, Val quit the committee, and I actually volunteered to help with the poker run right here, and they were still doing it. She was going to quit after the poker run. So she quit, and then part of it went to Debbie Burns, and I think she took chairperson. Well, that was okay with me. So the last part of June, the computers were still not fixed at that time, so we thought about, some people said we'd go with Gate Century. So that's why we had a presentation with Gate Century. I was never for that. I put it out there to see what the members thought and everything else, and they said, well, the computers had Microsoft 7 on it. It was not supported no more by Microsoft 7. Was not supported by Microsoft, so why not change the computers around? Well, I agree with them. And that committee, was not a committee, that group of residents were led by James Bennett. And I talked to him, I said, okay, well, that's the way I thought the same thing. So I thought it was a great idea. We tried to include things like get ideas, do something different with the gate. And people put in ideas like different things, like for Glen Lakes and all that stuff. And even some of those ideas were put in by the group, by Mary Story and Linda Walls. And I said, okay, we can look at those. Well, the first part of July was when everything changed. It was not because of anything I'd done or was trying to make it like that continue from years past or whatever to keep bringing that up. But Mary Story called Mike Long, which was a roofing consultant up here, wanted to find out exactly what his job was, what stuff he did for us and everything. We already presented that already and had already showed her the information. But it made him feel so uncomfortable that he called Vince And Vince called me and I verified it because I called Mike Long. Well, I sent a notice to Mark because he's on the board to try to stop this thing from getting out of control. And I said, one or two things are going to happen. It's going to escalate or it's going to stop. Well, the next week, I started getting all these emails from that group, as we know that their little cheerleading section last year, that I should respond to emails. And of course, I couldn't because of my hand figure, the way my hands work. So they said I was making a mistake by getting computers, and I was making a mistake by putting certain things out there about them. So I kind of just tried to let it go and not be responsible for that. Well, then the very next week, I got notice that back in April 17th, they was investigating they had disputed the election force. And Mark signed a paper that he was a witness, and this was started by a previous board member. They had been basically, if you felt like you'd heard that, then you would have felt like, okay, they started undermining the board since April of trying to get, like, discredit me because I wasn't here, saying I was a vegetable and everything else, and then saying that they were trying to go and attack Gal and try to get back in power, this kind of thing. So that's when I decided that enough is enough. And then, as you know, that it keeps coming up that they had a meeting, or like I sat here in a board meeting, I was the last one to leave. So I didn't plan on anything. I went straight to the door and walked out the door. Then I was approached by them that I want to talk to you about the computers. And I said, wait, you admitted that the computers were bootlegged, or some of the programs were bootlegged, and things were done to them. And I said, why didn't they get fixed? Because they kept saying that everything had been fixed. Well, there was no apology or anything. I was going to kind of let that go. But then they started to not apologize to Mary Astoria and them that, like, I attacked them. So it wasn't that way. It was the other way around. So since then, they keep bringing stuff up from the past and not letting us move on and go to the future. So that's what happened Tuesday morning. They bring up this truck thing. The truck's already been voted on. That was going to spend $35,000 to buy a new truck for code enforcement, because we spent $10,000 or more on the vehicles, and they would not let that go. And they keep saying they're out of the loop. Well, my thing I've always said, why would you be in the loop as much damage as it's done last year and keeping them out? And you can tell they kept people out of the loop because I was accused of saying the lawsuits didn't exist. But in fact, they did exist because they tried to settle one of them, but yet they didn't. They tried to settle in August, but they told board members, they didn't tell other board members anything what was going on, because one of them accused me of lying and said there was no lawsuit. So they kept her out of the loop on it. Well, it's come to a head now that they have been intentionally do this from the very beginning, because they can backwalk it and say that that she's been looking at the ballots all this time, but that's not true. The truth of the matter is that when I said what I said the other day, when I started to say that Mark was behind that, Val Stratton corrected me and said that Vinnie Bruno had put her up to that. You don't hear it on tape, but Larry said he heard her, I heard her, I'm sure Gil did, because it was on that end of the table. They stopped me and I said, wait a minute, I misspoke, that I started to say Mark, but it was Vinnie that did it. And as you see, it's being walked back on social media that she has been doing, like she's been looking at the ballots all along to see if her signature and stuff on it. Well, that's not true. So I'll just get that out of the way. We try to move on, and we want to solve problems. That's why I brought up the road part, paving, and the painting the line down the center of the country club, and getting the fence done on fence and resurfacing of the tennis courts, and doing the parking out here. That's why they were brought up. It's not to pat myself on the back or anything. It's just we listening to y'all as residents to see what y'all want done, what y'all need done, and we take into consideration what best suits. So one of the things that's come up in the last week has been the mask wearing. We talked to the health committee yesterday, and we thought about that most of the day. Starting Monday, because they couldn't get with the clubs, which I thought they couldn't get with the clubs in time to tell them all that we're going to a mask mandate in the buildings because Hernando County is a high risk. So Monday, you'll have to wear a mask when it goes to any of these things, whether you're vaccinated or not, because that's what CDC guidelines is. That is not my personal opinion, but I'm gonna go with CDC guidelines, and they say Hernando County's high transmission rate, and everything. So we're talking to the social committee, like, well, I'm just take it back. Brookridge Entertainment tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Friday night bingo at 1 is going to be there at 1 o'clock at the meeting. It's going to be here, and we're going to see what their opinion is on it. But I have no intention of shutting anything down. It's just we're going to require masks be worn in all buildings and all settings, right? That's what we decided yesterday. That's the only way we can do it. That's the next step. The next step after that would be no visitors, no guests. We hope we don't have to go that way. I believe in telling y'all the truth, so I'm not going to say, well, it's not going to happen, and the next thing you know, it happens. But I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can concerning things. But first off, I'm going to let Gail explain what she was going to say the other day at the meeting, if she wants to say that, about some of the procedures and things like that, to let y'all know that some of the things were not right, that were not done right in the past.
Well, Mr. Bossman, you kind of surprised me there. I would have taken my book. And I'll probably reiterate this at the Wednesday night meeting. I didn't get a chance to because the remarks never came to me, obviously, yesterday. There were remarks made by 3 board members at the last meeting, and they were quoting subject and verse of the statutes, deed restrictions, the bylaws, and the rules and regulations. And what I did was I went and listened to the tape many times, and I got everything down that they had quoted. And I will tell you that Mr. Stratton, Mrs. Stratton, and Mr. Keller took pieces of each one of those things that they quoted and forgot to tell everybody the rest of it. So all of the information that they were giving to make it sound like, this is gospel, it is incorrect. If I had my booklet here, I would be able to tell you. I think one of the biggest things is when Mr. Stratton said at the last, not this one, but the prior meeting, that the board is supposed to do the budget. Yes, the deed restrictions do say that the board will present the budget, but then you have to go to the bylaws, the rules and regulations, and then the standard operating procedures. The bylaws clearly state that it is the treasurer's responsibility to come up with a budget, not the whole board, because in the bylaws there is a section that says the board is responsible for, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. If you read that, and if Mr. Stratton had read it, he would see that there was no mention of a budget presentation. And when you look at the standard operating procedures, it states that the treasurer will create his own finance committee. He will present it to the board, but they don't have the right to say, I want someone else on there. It is just his right to say that. And they are to go over the budget, work with the administration, and come up with a feasible budget that would be presented to the board, the first meeting in September, which was Tuesday. At the Wednesday night meeting in September, that the board will vote. Now, that is the way, and Mr. Stratton did not present it that way. I'm sorry, I use names, he's the one that did it. So he did not present it that way, and I wanted to be clear, if he was trying to mislead, either he did it on purpose or he didn't read all of his documents. There's other things in there also, but that to me was the most important because we are dealing with the budget right now. And the budget is the biggest thing that our membership should be aware of. And we want to make sure that every member in this community knows that we are doing it by the book. Thank you.
Okay, and as y'all know, I was not planning on doing this, have the meeting the way it turned out Tuesday morning. We was gonna try to have a meeting in private to let them know what we suspected and things like that and the way it's handled. But according to Steve Messer said that we had to, because they brought it out in public the first time, that we had to bring it out in public. So I apologize to y'all that it went that way, that they had to be called out on that stuff. I'm not gonna apologize for that because they are trying to undermine y'all and not giving y'all say-so in what goes on around here. And that's not been how I present myself, is I want everybody to have a say in things, because to me, everything we do affects everyone. It doesn't affect just a few. So if somebody's got something they'd like to say about things, I will start off. The first thing I'll say is everything keeps bringing up the truck. So I'm gonna sell it once and for all, because it basically has been already been voted on and everything. And just so y'all know that we've not wasted money. Okay, I'm holding up a piece of paper right here is the invoice for the truck. If anybody can see, will somebody come up here and look at this piece of paper and verify that I'm telling the truth on this? Will anybody volunteer to come up here? Okay. Anybody can look at this piece of paper later if they like to. This is the original invoice. What's that say right there?
Lifetime warranty on all new and most pre-owned vehicles.
Thank you. And also the rumor going around is that the warranty does not cover commercial vehicles. At the top of this page, the invoice says not an individual, but it says Brookridge property owners. So I'm gonna clear it up right here with this paper. And this is a lifetime warranty, and it talks about the truck, and in each one of our packets at a meeting a few weeks back, when this was passed, it had the specifications, the drivetrain, how much mileage it got, and things like that, it's pretending like we didn't know what we was talking about. But right here's that, and I'll go ahead and open the meeting up to any questions you have, about, it can be anything, but the main thing is the mask mandate for starting next Monday. And the only reason that I'm pushing that real hard, and we agreed to do that, is because transmission rate is high in here, but also the gentleman that has the poker, that does is in charge of the poker club, he said 3 members last week had COVID-19 and they had been vaccinated. So just want y'all to be aware of that. So anybody got any questions they would like? Yes.
Can I ask where you purchased the truck from?
Okay, Greg went to Sun Toyota, and let's see, there's no date on it.
Okay, I have a question. Has anyone in here contact the Department of Public Works for Hernando County? Because as an independent company like this, we should be able to buy off state bid. Buy a vehicle off a state bid, and the prices are very low, and there's no taxes on that. Did anyone look into that?
I don't think anybody looked into that, because they were looking at trucks, and I see where you're going with that,
Well,
with that part.
the department, I mean, the highway department has trucks.
But we wanted something that was brand new to get the warranty.
They're all
Plus,
brand
it had
new when
no
they buy
mileage.
off state bid.
They had no mileage on it. As far as that go, and we could not get fleet vehicles because we don't have enough vehicles to get fleet vehicles.
I'm
Anybody
talking
else?
about like a foreman's truck could be purchased off a state bid.
Brookridge is a private community. So are you saying that as a private community? Oh, that's a great question. We have a truck that we have to purchase next year too. So yeah, we will make sure that we would call the highway department and ask if we can. Okay. That's a great question. All right.
But we have to remember that most time as you say, Department of the.
DPW.
Okay, most time they are going to buy Fords or Chevrolets. They're gonna buy the cheapest thing they can get. And I don't have intention of, you can hold me to this.
But their equipment lasts a long time, so.
That's because they have their own maintenance department as well. And most time they have their own maintenance that works on trucks. So, or works on vehicles. I'm not gonna buy a Chevrolet just because I can save $5,000 and it doesn't have a lifetime warranty, that this can go to, like, say, code enforcement, they decide in 5 or 8 years to get rid of this, that they're not gonna trade it in, we're gonna keep it, and it's probably gonna go to either here or it's gonna go to the maintenance department down there because of that lifetime warranty. I'm not gonna buy just because if they say they buy Ford or Chevrolet, I don't care if it saves the money. The reality is that if it saves money on the front end, it's gonna cost you on the rear end. And this way, this is the opposite. This might cost you a little more up front, but you have that lifetime warranty that you're gonna make it back on the year end when it breaks down.
I have another question. Everyone has been saying what we need to cut around here to save money. I listened to the board meeting last time. Someone said we need to cut the pool hours, or let's charge money for the RV park. My question is, anyone thought of ideas or suggestions to bring money into the community instead of cutting? My suggestion is to initiate a rental permit fee. Now, what that would do, if you're renting out your house for the year, you pay $100 a year fee. And that $100, we would have an enforcer to go and inspect the house to make sure it's safe, make sure it has smoke alarms, so the safety of your neighbors if the house should blow up. And then someone said to me, you can't do that because you can't go into the houses. So why can't the tenant fill out an affidavit that they have smoke alarms in the house? This way you would get $100 per year per house that's rented.
That's right, and that is something, if I could just take it, I'll call with my. I mean, it's still, it's a suggestion, and we can always look into it, but we have been trying to. I'm not sure the GM, the general manager would have that information. Because we have 2,600 homes in here now, so. Yeah, we would have to find that out.
If anybody else on the left-hand side got a question? Larry's got one.
I would rather see the capital contribution come back, perhaps not this year, but next year. I think that would be more fair than charging renters. Because if you charge if you charge the homeowner that's renting the property, he's just going to pass it on to the renter.
We have to remember, everyone, that everyone is giving suggestions, and we just want to be able to look at all of them. And I know that Jerry probably already has it in his head. I can't remember exactly what you said, but I am going to write it down. And Jerry does take everybody's, that's what the forums are for. So we want to, yay or nay, there's always something good that comes out of these forums.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Mine, let's go back to the audit for a minute. What's the latest information you have?
I can check right here, right
Yeah,
here.
I can take her off. Just
Because I'm on the email thread that comes in, let's see. Okay, I have nothing yet on it. Let's see when she sent a message out last.
come in the middle of the question. Go for an answer. Do they have a preliminary ending, like amount of money we had at the end of the year? Yeah, but you don't.
Okay, I don't see the last date. The last date it was sent out was last week. I don't have exactly what day it was, but I will contact them personally on the phone to see if I can get them to tell me exactly when they're going to send out some information involving the.
Jerry, if you could ask the auditor to give you even a ballpark figure of what kind of money we had left over at 2020. Because if he says you had 100,000 left over, that's $3 and you don't need a $3 increase.
Well, he's not gonna say that, because I done proved already that there was not $100,000 plus, or you can say, that they were over 100,000 because they did not pay the assessments, the reserves for September, and I had to write a check or sign a check for 42,000, let's see.
We understand that they did not put the money in the reserves. You had
So
to-
it was, so
you'd
it
take
was
that out.
carried over, it was carried over in the regular budget. I mean, regular, a checking account, but you had to write a check to cover the reserves account. So you got that missing from that statement, which I have right here. And you also have got missing the bad debt is not on there. That's normally put on there by the accountant. So really and truly, there never was that carryover of,
I don't think bad debt's gonna be subtracted from your final cash amount. We've carried bad debt all the time.
right, exactly. When you look at this statement right here, this shows that, okay, that figure was $88,107 is supposed to be in the black. But then you go up here to bad debt line, every year it's been 6,000, 22,000, 24,000, 28, 48,000, 47,000, 8,000, 13,000, 27,000, 20,000. And then it comes to us, it says on that line is zero, so they did not put that number in. That number could probably the average is somewhere around 15, 20,000. So if they had any kind of overreach, would probably be about $20,000, because line number 9212-12 transferred to reserves. When you go over there to last year, it says 395,410 was sent to reserves last year. That number was supposed to be 440, I think it's 440,000. So when I wrote that check, if they'd done it right, that check would be on the minus part of that 88,000. So that'd make it roughly 43,000. And then you take off the bad debt, which would be another 15,000, if that's gonna be what it'd be. And then you say it's gonna be, well, let's see, it's gonna be somewhere around, $30,000, but if I took my time, I could show you exactly where the 20,000 went, was where I can say most of it went in the paying for getting the second attorney, which is, trust me, I won't tell you, if it's not on paper, I'm not gonna tell you. So, let's see. Okay.
Jerry, I believe the figure was over 10,000.
Oh, I'm gonna show this first. There's the copy of the check that was on the back of the bank stud that was dated 6/11/2021. Check number 25-180 for the amount of $43,890. And the memo line says monthly reserves funding for September 2020. So that tells you right there that they did not pay the reserves. Okay, I'm not gonna take up too much time with this, but I have a profit and loss sheet for January from June of last year through March 21, which means I can show you where from March 21, just so there won't be no argument about this. Okay, the second attorney was called As everybody knows that they had two attorneys, Peyton Bull and right here. All these bills are from, they start out in July of last year and they end March 1st of 2021. But the ones that were paid for in January, February, March, one of them was $2,650. Another one was $1,000 even. Another one was $475. That was for, we even took office. Okay, the other one was Becker, which is our regular attorney. As we know by this, they was $589, was one payment in March. In February was $1,007 in February, another payment in February of $3, another payment in, January was $70, another payment in January was $690. Also, I'll get to the computers right here. I'll say it real quick. Okay. Because I don't mind people holding me to this. This is TMH Technology Services, and these bills are dated. There is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bills in the month for January, February, March, and they're $485, $485, $540, $515, $234, $1,537, $1,432.85, and the budget shows that, just so you'll know, to settle this argument once and for all about there was money left over that could be spent to pay the bills or not have to raise the assessments. Because I have the budget for for this year, to prove there is no carryover. Okay, I got it. All right, there it is. Okay. Okay, this is the budget, proposed budget for this year. What was voted on? It says projected carryover $24,000. Okay, when we get to this line right here, for the whole entire year, it says computer consultants, $1,000. Right here on line 5239-01, computer consultant, says $1,000. That means you're going to spend the maximum amount of about $90 a month. Well, I've already shown that it was already spent well over that. Also, it shows computer expense right above it, which I can show the effect of that the server, well, I'll just leave that alone, the computer consultant. Okay, on the attorney litigation, it shows for the whole year, 15,000. I'm sure that's its collections. And then the other one says litigation and administration over 30, it says 30,000. That's going to be over, most likely. And right down here, it says bad debt, 14,000 was expected. So I can show where most likely that money, some of that money, or if not all that, $30,000 was probably, most of it was spent ahead of time before we took office. So there's not like anything we can do to like cut expenses because they had already done it. Plus, we have to remember that when code enforcement, somebody's sick at the gate, not only do they pay them sick pay for that, but they pay somebody to fill in that spot. And that's for everybody to feel comfortable with code enforcement or security, even though they're not technically security. But most of that money that they pay, if it's tied to COVID, it gets paid back in the tax credit that ends the end of this, I think it says on, that it ends the end of this month. So it's not like if somebody sees where money was spent too much on payroll or code enforcement back in April, which is one of their requests, is that there's 100 hours spent that was contributed to COVID in April. Okay, but there was never a $100,000 plus that could be used to carry over. And also, we got to remember that this budget, well, I'm looking at it right here, that part of this additional income that we passed, and Larry said that where it shows on the front here that we voted on, it says administrative income and it says collections and landscaping. Well, one of those figures is that goes in fines and collections, and down here at the bottom it says 4802-09, reimbursement expense. That is the bingo, because it says $27,000 there to the side. So we know that income was not coming in, not only for last year, but for this year. There's none of that. So there are some where you got to make up that somehow. So any income that was contributed to the bingo money, that was whatever it was going to pay for, if there was any carryover, it's going to have to go to that. So it's not like there's going to be $100,000 floating around to pay assessments or anything, to not keep assessments from going up, because we know that bingo's not here. We know they did not take into account the minimum wage going up, and it did not take into account where it says 4029 miscellaneous income, $22,000. Where's that money come from? I don't know. They don't know. It's just on this piece of paper. Another thing I found out before I even got here was the question came up from Carol and Lynn. Why is there stuff on this budget that, like, for example, in additional income, fines, everything, miscellaneous income, stuff like, it had the trash in there, and it's like, we pay to have the trash picked up. Why would it be income? Because they don't pay us to pick it up. So that's just one of the examples why this page has some stuff on it that is already gone out in another section, so it's not really considered income. And that would be, there's about 4 items in here. One of them's going to be the probably, I'm going to say it's probably going to be attorney fees or the filing fees that we don't get nothing back from that. That money's already gone somewhere else because you got to pay it up front. All right.
Jerry, I think you said you would talk to the bookkeeper, and I think if you simply ask them, do they have an approximate ending balance? That would tell us everything we need to know. It may take them a while to compile it so they can give it to us in fancy paperwork, but by now they should have the figures.
Well, that's correct, but I think the reason it's taking so long is there's such a mess that they got to deal with, and there's been a holdup with Masters and Company giving our information to the new auditors, and of course we had to go with the new auditor because they would basically not do it, so, that's where that came from. So we had to take what we could get at the time to do an audit and do the taxes and handle the taxes and everything else. And I know it's been going around that people are questioning what a forensic audit would cost, and it could, somebody said something like $4,000 to $6,000. That's unrealistic. A forensic audit's probably gonna run between 30 and 50,000. It depends on how extensive it is, because if doing this audit is just a regular audit 1 year, you gotta think, with this thing costing $10,000, you can imagine for 1 year, if it's 10,000, what it's gonna be for 5 or 6 years or 7. It's gonna be probably $10,000 every year. If you want 10 years worth, it's gonna be $100,000. So, all I can do is check on it and call them, and that's all we can do is keep calling them, trying to bug them to get us the information. If I can get you a final figure, because I'm wanting to see what they're saying bad debt's gonna be, just for my personal opinion, so I can look at this page right here, and so I'm not guessing at what bad debt's gonna be on here. I can tell you exactly how much they were over and short, because this is a profit and loss statement for the last 10 years. And it's got it separated by year up here at the top, and got columns for 10 years, so we can go back and see exactly if how much they were. I mean, I admit they were over, but it had to be, probably Betty's salary, because she resigned. It'd be probably the 4 months they didn't have a bookkeeper and a GM, and they probably cut back. I think I heard they cut back had Greg cut back some funds or something like that, and may add up to 24,000.
Okay, Jerry, I think that people are understanding it, but we've been on this for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
So
so
if
I'm
we
ready to
could-
go to somebody else with another question.
Okay. Hi, Jerry.
Hey,
Can you explain to the people here, I'm sorry, that the pool closing will be like your last resort? Can you explain? Oh, I'm not gonna. But can you explain, because people hear pool closing and they think that's exactly what you're gonna close the pool. So if you could explain to people that's like last resort type thing, it would kind of maybe ease their questions, maybe?
that's the reason that would be behind there. If it was, say, voted down, say it was state 45, there is a way to, in my opinion, there's a way to work things out, and to keep things open. But in my personal opinion, you're looking at a disaster here from the standpoint of what can you do? The first thing you're gonna do is, to be fair about it, you have to cut payroll. That's all you can do. That's the largest expense there is. And I don't recommend we close anything, but there's gotta be a way to work stagger hours or something, because that's the only way it can be done. But I will say, to be honest with everybody, if you don't pass it, because minimum wage is going up every year for the next 4 to 5 years, when you break it down, you figure out, okay, $6.30 from the 8.70 or what it is now for the lowest people, and you do it times 24 people, when you do it times the years, it comes out to basically it will have to go up almost $10. The assessment would go up 7, but you gotta figure in the way materials go up and things like that. So you gotta figure it's gonna have to go up $10 over the next 4 years. So it's gonna have to end up being 55 sometime or another.
Okay. And I just wanna, just to add to that, The wages are approximately 62% of our budget. And if this does not pass, every dollar that you give comes out to $33,900. That is what part of the budget that we have. With the bingo is $27,000, so it's not quite a dollar, but it's about 50 cents to 75 cents. That's why we depend on bingo. The departments have cut absolutely everything out of their budget. The only thing left is the wages. If it does not pass, that is about $100,000. You can't get that out of using less gas or anything like that. And we have nothing to offer. You know, we have nothing that we can sell that would, like other businesses do. And unfortunately, the HOAs and the condos are gonna suffer for this, but people have to, their wages have to go up, but we're gonna pay too. So and the only thing is, I know the finance committee talked about, either not having the gate, not having any guards at the guard shack, which is, what is it, Jerry, 37 hours a day or 47 hours a day because of the 3 shifts and whatever. So it's a big thing. The pool, if people don't want to pay, that is going to be one of the things affected. But this board is dedicated to making sure that we have the finances that we need.
I've got another question
What are we, 39, 40?
what's that?
Vince, how many employees do we have?
There is 41 employees.
41,
counted.
okay. There are
Just-
41 employees.
I can recount it, just somebody wants to know for sure.
41, there are 41, most of which are the part-timers, and many of them are making $8.65 an hour. October 1st, they're gonna be making 10. And next October 1st, they're gonna be making 11, and all the way through until they're making 15.
Hi, Jerry. I'm bringing up a subject that you're probably tired of hearing, but it has to do with the speeding on the boulevard again. There was a gentleman Tuesday morning near the end of the meeting that told us we should just live with it. Fact of the matter is, if it doesn't come under control, we're gonna die by it. There's several hills on the boulevard, and if you happen to live near one of the crests of those hills, it is dangerous backing out of your driveway if the individual coming down that hill is doing 50 or 55 miles an hour, and they do that. I live on the boulevard fairly close to Country Club, and I've estimated that 75% of the cars that go past my house on the way out of here are doing well over 30 miles an hour. So in driving around the community, I've noticed that there's not a lot of speed limit signs up and down the boulevard, and the signs that are there are fairly small. My idea was to paint on the highway big numbers, 30 mph, across both lanes, every quarter mile going both directions on the boulevard.
Okay, I'm taking into that consideration because I've already presented that to the advisory committee. Steve Pisano's in charge of it. He's a snowbird. There's 5 people on that committee, and that is our number one thing, is to look at what can be done for that. It may never be nothing, because some of the stuff they tried like 10 years ago that may be damage to a car, so they could not put speed bumps, but they could put maybe speed humps or something. So any idea that's gonna go will be presented to Steve, and he'll figure it out. The research will be done by him and 3 people on the committee, or there's actually 4 people, and it's gonna be, Steve Pisano is a snowbird, but there's I think another snowbird on there, and there's gonna be 3 permanent residents that are on that committee, and that is their primarily first focus thing, because it's been going on for 40 years, so that's a good idea, we'll look at that.
Okay, that, out of all the things I've heard proposed over the last few months, I think that this is probably the most cost-effective.
Yeah,
The other issue I wanted to bring up is I'm here to represent a group of residents who have been getting together on Saturday night in the tennis court parking lot. It started about a month ago when we had the Blue Moon, and we had such a great time out there with everybody that we just decided that it would be a regular Saturday night event. We started about 9 o'clock at night, and we've been breaking up anywhere from 11 to midnight. We set up tables, we bring snacks, we bring our own drinks. But last week while we were there, security came through and raised an issue about whether or not we would be allowed to do this. And we've been hearing during the week now that there are concerns, perhaps liability concerns about us being in the parking lot. And we'd like to get it clarified and see if, give us a good reason why we can't continue our little get-together.
I can't give you one, because this is the first time I've heard about that. For me, I would say, me personally, and maybe Gil might disagree with this or whatever, but I'm saying as long as you're not starting no trouble, stealing stuff or anything like that, I don't see what's wrong with that.
So far, we're up to about 15 people. You know, we're trying to grow the group. We're 15 people that happen to like each other. So I don't think there's going to be any fistfights breaking out. And we're not, we're not over imbibing with alcohol. It's just a
Yeah,
get-together.
I don't see it, to me personally, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, if you could pass that word along to code enforcement.
Yeah, you're not parking, you're not blocking the street, and you're not dancing naked in the parking lot, so we good.
It's been discussed.
I want to address one thing while there's a break here before Gil gives this to somebody else. Another question to somebody else. This right here is, I'm not going to let somebody look at this, but I'm just going to say, this is the sheet that's got the payroll on it, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. There's 24 people on here that do not make the minimum wage. So just to be aware, and I did it when I figured out why it was going to be about $7.50 over the next 5 years. It was going to have to go up to cover payroll. I based that on just those 24 people. That's not counting the people that's going to be, it's already making between $10 an hour and less than 15, because you're going to, sooner or later, you're going to catch them in this if you didn't give them a pay increase to, like if they've been here 5 years or 10 years. So that'll catch him up in it later. I did not figure those in when I said the $7 figure. I figured just the 10, because that would have to go, you got to count that will be added in there. So that's just one of the things. And let's see, this sheet don't quite go as far as I need to go. That for example, the payroll is going to, right now it's showing 465.71.
Jerry, I'd just like to, it's 3 o'clock now,
Okay,
and I have somebody who has a question.
all right.
Hey, Jerry, you said that you made the September reserve payment or wrote the check thereof,
Yeah.
that means that we were using our reserve monies to subsidize our income or use it as a carryover. I remember reading somewhere that it's to be 10 equal payments in the same calendar year. If that is the case, and my information is not misunderstood, would that not be fiduciary mismanagement?
I mean, my opinion of that is you're absolutely correct, because it does say there is 10 equal payments supposed to be made. So yes, it is supposed to be. If it's like, for example, let's see, where have I got it? Well, when you look at the budget part and it says $440,000, then it should be like, $44,000 for the 10 months. So that would be right with that part, I think. So without me re-looking at it, but it's supposed to be 10 equal payments.
That could be something too that the auditor
Yeah.
is addressing.
Okay, next question, please. Appreciate the questions.
I think that's it. I'm sorry? I'm not sure if it's SOP or whatever. It might even be in the statutes, I'm not sure. So I'm going to check on that.
Okay, if there's no more questions, this was weird how I went with this today was, not smooth, but if anybody's got any questions they don't want to ask in public, they want to ask me privately later, my door's always open. I've met with people, as long as I'm not tied up with somebody, I'll meet with them, whether it's in the conference room, whether it's come up here. I will say, just so people know, that if they get questioned about, or it comes up, well, I'm waiting on a spot for the RV compound, I will say that I am assigning spots this week for the empties. I think it was 18 or 19 empties that I found, and I've assigned, so far I've assigned 9 spots, because I don't want to assign a spot to somebody and then they have not called me back yet, and then I call somebody else. That'd be crazy, and give them a spot, and then the first person I call calls me and then they don't have a spot. So I usually wait on that person to call me back and tell me yes or no. Okay, anybody else got a question about anything? Yes, there's a question up front here.
I saw it.
Thanks, Jerry. During the week, we took a drive through the parking lot where all the motorhomes are parked, right? I noticed this on a little drive-through I did. There's one boat that sits there on a trailer that has no license on the front of it. It hasn't been on the water for ages, but he's taken up a spot in there that is valuable to somebody else that may want a spot. Now, I looked at that and I said, there's something right there that's useless to anybody not even using it, but a boat is sitting on a trailer, and that boat has no registration to even be on the water. But the thing is occupying the space within that compound. And
Okay,
it's a white boat.
Yeah, we're checking into all the,
Okay, I just happened to notice that, and I said, there's some dead items sitting on that lot that shouldn't be there, along with a lot of cargo trailers. Okay,
Yeah,
I just
so-
wanted to bring that up to you, Jerry.
yeah, so we're looking at all those, and I'm trying to figure out which ones need to be taken out, which ones need to be, new tag information, things like that. So I am looking at those. So I'm sorry I'm a couple of weeks behind on stuff, but I'm just basically, I'm doing most of this we're doing it primarily to help them out, because I will say this will be the last thing is, there are certain things that people want that take up time in the office for them to look for it, to find it, to do the research and things like that, when they could be doing exactly what I'm doing, like Carol could be doing what I'm doing, but she's busy with other stuff. And you gotta remember that some stuff, like let's see, I'm gonna look, see if there's a question on here about, somebody's asked about the ballot box. Let me get that question up. Okay.
I don't see one on the ballot.
No, it's not there. I thought there was on the ballot box. They were talking about something else. Okay. I'm gonna end this meeting if there's no other questions out here. I appreciate everybody coming out today to ask questions. Believe me when I say that if it was me, considering what Carol has said and Lynn said, it's like we do not spend, that we're frugal with the money. It would not be, if I could find another way to make the money up to pay the salaries for the wage increase, believe me, I sure would have. Because I don't want to see nobody have to make a choice between paying their assessments or buying their medication. That is not the thing, because I know how that is, because it not so much that it happened to me, but because my medication was like over $700 and some dollars. And I eventually got insurance, like I got Obamacare to take care of it. And I get a subsidy for like all of but 90, like I think it's $85 difference. But if it wasn't for that, I would have to pay almost $800. Okay, so we're going to end this, and I appreciate everybody coming out today. And I'll try to do my best to answer any questions or get answers. But I'm glad the comment was made about speeding a while ago. I do have the advisory committee is going to look at that issue, because that's been around a long time. So it's not that we're going to deal with it like ignore it, because I don't believe in ignoring things. Okay, thank you for coming out. Have a good day.